Wow, Sukuna. Didn't know it was take your kid to work day.
They will never find your body.
What's up, guys? Punster, and here we are to do a breakdown and review of chapter 300. Whoa, I'm projecting. 233 of Jujutsu Kaisen, the decisive battle in the uninhabited demon-infested Shinjuku. And, you know, a lot happens in this chapter, but not a lot happens in this chapter. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a bunch of stuff in this chapter that's really, really neat. Some of it a little bit confusing, and some things a little bit in between. But this is just heat. This is Gege's cooking. I will admit, already, I like the second round more than the first round by a long shot. As cool as the domain manipulation was, I'm loving seeing the Shikigami, new and old, get active. That's what I came for, all right? If you're going to give me Maguna, and we're getting Maguna. But let's not waste any more time, and let's hop right into it. Editing B, ready, 3, 2, 1, go. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Fun fact, I have it on me, and I keep it on me at all times. And I have to say this. Let's not waste any more time, and let's hop right into it. But let's see. The hands of the beast finally reach him. Gojo Satoru pushed to the brink. First things first. I'm gonna reel it. Nah, but let's talk about it. Let's talk about it real quick. We need to stop saying it's Gojo over until it's actually Gojo over. I'm getting a little bit. I understand. Here's the thing, though. I'm not gonna fully complain. I'm not gonna really complain at all. I'm just gonna point it out because the Sukuna fans, they've been going through it. So, and unfortunately, this chapter's not going to do them any favors. Don't worry, I'm going to defend Sukuna in a bit. I'm not gonna clown on Sukuna as extremely. You can likely tell by the shifted intros that my perspective is not as there were. I'll admit there were like 3 alternate intros, all of which I cut because I thought they were too mean. But with that being the case, it's not Gojo over till his head is rolling. Like I legit need his head gone. And I say that legitimately. Like, he pointed it out himself to Toji. You gotta take my head. Like, if you had taken my head, you would have won. But since you did it, it's just round 2. So until Gojo gets his head shot, I got faith. And second thing second, why is bro so small all of a sudden? Well, we'll talk about this in a little bit. But we obviously get to see that Gojo, he got gashed up just a little bit. But a couple things to note, he is immediately out of the shadow. He already landed, which shows that Mahoraga is not getting all too active, and he is still breathing. But, of course, considering this is their sensei getting, let's just say, a cut. Maybe a little bit of a cleanup. He got a line. I'm not talking about the one for your hair. But with that being the case, we see that Itadori, Yuta, and Hikari are all extremely worried. I love it. I love this too. Sweat drop underneath the left eye. Sweat drop underneath the right eye. Sweat drop underneath the right eye. All 3 of them are so concerned. And ironically enough, this plus Maki, obviously, is the trio. Well, the whole squad that needs to hop in next, right? Like, if Gojo loses, because that's probably the big reason why they're reacting like this. We've been clowning on Yuta a lot, but these 2 have been sweating as well. They're next up. Obviously, Kashimo's next up legally. Like, I'm pretty sure it's in Kashimo's contract. Like, I am fighting next. You managed to convince me to not go first. I am going second. Like, I'm assuming Kashimo's up next, but still, they likely know. They likely know Kashimo's not going to get the job done. He can't. Like, notably, I'm. How do I put this? I'm against the narrative that Sukuna can't lose to Gojo because Gojo's not the main character, because Sukuna's not the main villain. So in my opinion, both of them taking each other out would actually be perfect. And you just leave Kenjaku as the final villain. Or another hypothetical scenario that I've been saving for a video. And there are 2 videos I have to make now based off this chapter alone. First one is going to be the hypothetical maximum for Gojo. Jeez, it's already happening. And second, I gotta make some Kenny cooking video because he's gotta be cooking, bro. We've been doing this for 11 chapters. I think 15's the number. I think 15's the number before we're all well and done with this. But that's my shot in the dark. I'm not sure. 4 more chapters? I think 4 more chapters would make sense. Another chapter, maybe introducing their Shikigami fusion. They'll fight a little bit more. Next chapter, Gojo really starts to run out. Sukuna starts to run out. Actually, no, next chapter should probably be the elimination of one, the Shikigami. So we're probably going to get a new Totality. There's an interesting sequence of events. However, we do get to see that of all the students, Yuji Itadori, who pain will not stop, says he's not finished yet. Even if it's adapted to infinity, they're still on equal footing. And even if he's injured, note this, and even if he's injured, he can quickly heal. And that's something that I was saying last chapter, but we have the big doctor in the house being like, I mean, technically, legally you're correct, but let me spit real quick. No, his wounds are clearly taking longer to heal. I'm sure he's still able to use reverse curse technique beyond firing red, but his output is definitely dropping. Now, this raises a question. Shoko says his output is... I meant to grab the Googler. Where's the Googler? I need to look up what Shoko looks like in the manga. I could have sworn she had hair details. Why is it all black? Where's my Googler? One moment. I must retrieve the Googler. The Googler is retrieved. I'm just going to look up Shoko in the manga real quick. But I wonder if, when she says his output is dropping, the question is Utahime's amp a universal amp to all things, or is it only an amp to one attack? Was it just the purple that was raised up to 200% this entire time? Or was it Gojo who was raised to 200% the entire time? I want to say it's just the purple, because I feel like if he really was amped to 200% and he started dropping, then he wouldn't be as strong. But I may be just entirely fibbing on that one. I don't know. It just seems strange because we're mentioning output. And output makes me flashback to the start of oh no. I mean, she had some hair details. But nah, even my most iconic panel of Shoko doesn't actually have much hair detail. Alright. It's so crazy. Look at the difference in art style, though. Like the difference in art styles. I see what that one guy said. One person said Shoko doesn't even look like Shoko in the chapter, and I can kind of see it. But Shoko does bring up the fantastic point that the fatigue is actually reaching Gojo. Gojo, for the longest time, especially, for the cross-verse sense, because, a lot of JJK fans, we do like to talk hypothetically about versus battles. It happens to come across quite often. And one of the biggest things a lot of people would argue, obviously before this fight, is that Gojo's stamina, just like his technique, was limitless. Because, well, he would never run out of cursed energy. And if cursed energy is your fuel in this universe, then... of course, if you can't run out of cursed energy, you can never get tired, right? No. This is definitely confirming that Gojo can get weaker and he can get tired. He cannot be essentially a non-stop motion machine despite the extreme efficiency provided to him by the Six Eyes. I know to a lot of people that's going to be like, well, duh, he's a human being. But he's Satoru Gojo. So a lot of people didn't think it would work like that. And I'll admit, I was people. But was I people or was I memeing? I was kind of both. It depended on the day, whether or not I was memeing or whether or not I was actually arguing that. But now this just 100% confirms it. We see Shoko doubles down and says, sorry, if it makes you feel any better, it's likely the same for Sukuna with the damage sustained by his brain. So this is an interesting point. Output is specifically noted in this case to be the strength of Gojo's attacks and how fast he can heal. So I wonder, because you're gonna hear me mention this in a little bit. Mahoraga looks kind of tiny, and the Nue fusion that Sukuna summons later on in this chapter also is looking kind of small. So hypothetically, it may be that Sukuna's actually running out. Oh, like a lot of cursed energy. And to be fair, it does make sense. I believe he dropped 3 or 4 malevolent shrines. And no matter how efficient he is a domain. That's a lot of energy. Plus, he's been healing a whole bunch. Once again, remember, he opened up this fight with a pretty major heal. Like, before, he just had to restore Yuji's hand. But in the start of this fight, he had to restore a whole arm. Plus, he has to keep restoring his face. Plus, he's trying to fix his brain. Plus, his chest keeps getting blown out. Plus, he just took a super crazy Omega strongest attack in the verse, Black Flash, straight to the chest. He's been doing a lot of healing too. So I wonder if the reason Mahoraga seems to be getting smaller and smaller each chapter, and the reason that the new fusion, Ahito, is not necessarily that big, is because of this whole output thing. Now that they're starting to run low, they're starting to get a little bit gassed, they can't output the same. And while in Gojo's case that comes out as weaker reds, in Sukuna's case that comes out as weaker Shikigami. I wonder. However, we do get to see that there is now an idea that they never thought they would have to consider. Let me put on my narrator voice. Let me take a sip. Even with the strongest in history, the King of Curses as his opponent, all thought the idea to be, in some respects, impossible. But in this moment, the possibility of Gojo Satoru losing flooded their minds. So, that is actually... I'm not sure if it makes Yuta consistently sweating and screaming worse or better. Because essentially what this is saying is that just now that Shoko's dropped the lore bomb on them, that, oh no, Gojo's literally weakening. Like, his output's dropping, he's not healing as fast, he's getting closer and closer. Like, the Reaper? It's knocking. Now, only now, the possibility of Gojo losing flooded their minds. You could argue it's always been there, and it's only flooded forward, but it's very interesting that these heavy sweats are only now actually considering that, oh no, Gojo may lose. Gonna lose, it's Satoru Gojo. Turn that from a declarative statement to a questioning statement. Gonna lose, even though it's Satoru Gojo? I personally still got faith. I'm just saying. Especially what happens later on this chapter gives me even more faith than I had at the end of the last chapter. Ironically enough, Gege, this is one of the first chapters, I feel like in a while. Actually, no, not in a while. 231, I believe, ended on a massive Gojo W. But a lot of these chapters, I'd say the middle points are really where they like, uh-oh, Gojo's in trouble. Or just at the very end, or then vice versa. But we see that this thought of loss, this thought of failure, that same thought struck Gojo himself. So, stakes just got added to this battle. Stakes legitimately just got added to this battle of the beasts. At least in the mind of the strongest sorcerer. And that is very, very interesting. So it makes me wonder, is this going to change anything? I'm sorry, my hand is falling asleep, so I'm going to try to wake it up. But what I'm wondering is, does this change his approach at all? Or does he just keep doing the things he's doing? I don't think this changes his approach. Unfortunately, I would say... But here's the thing, right? I'll admit, a lot of y'all pointed this out to me. Me and Gojo, we not the same. If I had his abilities, I'd be using them way differently. Like, insanely differently. Boo-goo bonkers differently. Let's just say, I would not be brain damaged right now. Put me 11 chapters into the battle against Sukuna. I would not have just been spamming domain back to back to back. I would be playing the game completely differently. I'd be abusing all my hacks, mainly the teleportation. I'd be spamming the teleports. But Gojo moves very, very differently. And we get the reason why Gojo may have been realistically fighting unoptimally. Fighting a little bit stupid. Making some silly moves. Being a silly little goose. Because he asked himself, how long has it been? How long has it been since I truly felt satisfaction? We get this panel of Gege's favorite character. Like, here's the thing, right? Gege said his favorite character is Nanami. I don't buy it. Because who perished and then came back not the arc later? Told you. Who is set up as the responsible, the origin point, the canon event for the entire JJK timeline at the modern era in specific? It's Toji, who literally has a clone character. Like, characters from the past who literally, I mean, I guess you could say Kenjaku is technically a clone character of Geto. So I guess you could say there's two. But who literally has an entire character whose main purpose throughout one of the major battles within the Culling Games arc was literally just to become Toji. It was Maki to become Toji. And here Toji gets brought up again. So honestly, I think Gege really likes Toji. I think Gege's a fan. I think Gege's one of the Toji stans. Because geez, no, he's not that much of a Toji stan, because that's not what Toji looks like. I do like the worm though. The worm looks less nightmarish in this panel in particular. But I still admit, even though this doesn't exactly look like Toji, I do like this drawing of Toji. This is a really, really neat drawing. But we do get to see that Toji is the last time that Gojo felt real satisfaction. Toji is the last time that he actually felt value in battle. And that is true. I can completely understand that. Not actually. I do not fight. Not even like UFC or mixed martial arts. I ain't martial arts. I did martial arts when I was younger, but I'm pretty sure everyone did martial arts when they were younger. So I'm not actually a warrior. But I do know the feeling. What's an equivalent point where I can put it? Okay. So, back when Smash Ultimate first came out, I had a lot of friends of mine who had never played a Smash game before say, "Oh, I want to play that." So we all played it. For reference, I was a Smash 4 fiend. And by fiend, I could literally have it pumped into my veins and not care. So I was invested within Smash 4. Deeply. Stocks, they may have not been that high, because a lot of people look back on Smash 4 negatively, but they were invested. And thusly, even though Ultimate is a very different game than Smash 4, I had a lot of muscle memory built up. I would raffle stomp every single one of my new friends who played it. However, there were a couple people who already played Smash 4 and hopped over to Ultimate. We just weren't in the same area at the time. We didn't manage to cross, and none of us felt like paying for Nintendo Online at that point. So we were all playing local. So when we finally all met back up, after literally, I think we met back up after like 2 years after the game came out. We were still playing it. And I felt fun again. Because like, sure, it's fun to raffle stomp people. You can have some fun. Like, I was playing completely random characters. I specifically remember I did random. I got Zero Suit Samus. I was playing against a King K. Rool. I 3-stopped him. Like, it was fun. It was fun, like going random and messing around. But in that same vein, there was nothing more satisfying than actually battling an equal. For a more modern example, every time in Fighters. I mentioned my Fighters friend group before. There's the one guy who barely knows how to play the game. We essentially use him as a living, breathing training dummy that yells back. And then there's the ones that we actually can have like good, intense matches where we can run sets, run a few money matches here and there. Those are the fun ones. And Gojo hasn't had a fun one like he thinks since Toji. He has not had someone that's actually pushed him in a fight in literally a decade. He has been without that satisfaction, and the narrator points it out. And yet, as signs of defeat show, so too rushes forth a feeling much more intense, satisfaction. The loneliness that comes with absolute strength. The one satisfying him now is not this man, because he gets modeled. But I do like that. We as a fandom have been like pushing this narrative that one of the biggest things about this fight, why it's going on for so long, why these two are kind of messing around a bit, is because they know whoever wins, and if they win and survive for more than like 5 pages, because notably, I can loosely warn what I'm thinking of. I think a lot of people thought of this one way or another, whether it's Gojo or Sukuna who wins, regardless. I think a lot of us are smelling an end very similar to the Todo and Yuji versus Mahito fight. One of them is going to be scrambling away, trying to escape. Or maybe they've just barely managed to defeat their opponent. This could be very similar to Nanami. Well, not the Dagon fight. Technically, it is post the Dagon fight, but remember how Nanami was. Right after beating the transfigured humans, right after getting lit on fire by Joga, right after fighting Dagon, all that. Remember how he was, and Mahito just strolled up. I was like, hey, you gotta hold this. I can smell Kenny cooking something like that. I can smell it. I can smell it. And thusly, them not knowing that that's going to happen. I'm presuming neither of them really think of Kenjaku as a threat, because at their full power, Kenjaku isn't. That is how this fight is going. They are legit just enjoying themselves. They are really bantering. You literally see them throwing insults and jolts. Insults, jokes, and jabs at each other all the time. Sukuna keeps talking smack because this is the one person he can talk smack to that can actually punch him in the mouth right afterwards. Gojo keeps talking smack in this very chapter because he's fighting the one person he can talk smack to and he can get punched in the mouth afterwards. These two are finally actually meeting. Gojo's having his moment that Sukuna had at the end of 231, where Sukuna, after getting straight in the face, what does he think of at the end of the chapter? The one who will teach you about love. The thing that Yorozu said to him. And Gojo's the one teaching him love, giving him that satisfaction. And in a way, in a sick, twisted way, considering this is literally Gojo's son that he's fighting, being possessed by an ancient cursed being, Gojo's wishes, his desires, his need for a good fight, it's there. In Sukuna. Which is unfortunate. This two would be a crazy rival duo, but obviously that would never happen. We get to see there's just something so inherently funny about seeing Mahoraga, the 8-handled divine seal of general, just get wombo. He literally gets a 4P. Like, why? Why does Gojo just, he straight up says, like he just boxes on Mahoraga. He said, fine, you adapted to the infinity, adapt to these hands. And he can't. Like, you can really see Mahoraga just gets knocked around. And notably, these are probably blue enhanced, I know. Just because Mahoraga is adapted to blue being used offensively, and the infinity, which is a basic application of blue, thank you all for that explanation. It doesn't mean he's adapted to Gojo using it to boost himself. So I believe Gojo is boosting himself here when he does this. But even still, it's just hilarious. This monstrous beast, arguably the third strongest character in the verse, if you count it as an individual character separate from Megumi and Sukuna, it's just getting punched in the mouth and then gets a tiger claw to the face. He just says, "Ha!" Might as well have hit him with a Kamehameha. And Mahoraga rolls. Though admittedly, Gojo, Satoru. let me not call you by your family name, but Satoru. You know better, but like this is not gonna do anything. Like if you're going, I know. A lot of people said that guy was a coward. That guy who only knows how to run. That guy, but legitimately, since you could literally get your paws on him, just drop him in lava, drop him in the ocean, drop him somewhere. You don't have to actually fight him. I don't know. Then again, I guess I literally am just a coward. Like I would not be fighting fair, honestly, or straight up. It's maybe that's one of the reasons why I'm so like kind to Sukuna and I don't really consider him a fraud is because I play Sukuna's doing nothing wrong. He's playing every single card he should. In fact, I'd say he should be playing more cards. Why drop one Shikigami Fusion? Drop 4. I know he literally couldn't drop 4. Unless. Like, if you do a fusion with Rabbit Escape or the Toads where there can be multiple, could you get multiple fusions? Maybe you could only fuse the Toad and Rabbit Escape. Maybe you can't actually fuse anything extra on top of that. Because you could go crazy. You could go a little bit buku bonkers. But Gojo tags Mahoraga, and instead of teleporting him to the ocean, or teleporting him into lava and teleporting back, or teleporting out to restore his output, or anything like that, he just pushes Mahoraga back. And I don't know, so it's just so funny about this image, like Mahoraga, this 20-foot tall beast of a Shikigami, like, ow! You hit me! And I love his head wings flapping. But we do get to see that it actually did do some pretty decent damage. Like, he's got some damage marks on him from the punches. And he goes, and then Gojo starts going, up goody ba, up goody ba, up goody ba. But no, he says face. Palamita? I have no idea how to say that. Tell me how to say that in the comment section down below. Pillars of light. And Kusakami notes, oh, okay. He's inciting the incantations. He's reciting them. And Shoko's like, oh, okay, he's trying to restore his decreased output. So that's interesting. I'm assuming I would need to double check. Is it worth double checking right now? No, I'm not going to do it. But these are different than the ones he used against Sukuna at the start of the match, right? These are the purple incantations. These are the red incantations. So that's interesting. Despite Curse Energy being a game of optimization, in order to restore one's output, instead of using less hand signs or not doing the phrases is the most effective way to do it. Very, very intriguing. Though I wonder if he gets the full phrase out or not. I think he does, right? Because he immediately goes into Curse Technique Reversal. And obviously we know if he's posted up like this, you getting hit with a red. But we see that Sukuna does a pretty impressive feat. Gojo says Curse Technique Reversal. Bro, all he needs to do is say red. He has seemingly enough restored his decreased output, or at least he's trying to, through using the full incantations. But Sukuna, in the Shadow Realm, after getting... he actually manages to properly summon Rabbit Escape from the Shadow Realm. And it actually does catch Gojo off guard. And he does summon it, seemingly enough, from Gojo's shadow, which is very, very neat. Now, once again, let me take a sip before I complain. If you were going to introduce the fact that the Shikigami get beefier when used by a stronger user, do it with every Shikigami. Commit or don't do it at all. Mahoraga not looking different, I can let slide. He's seemingly enough the ultimate of the 10 shadows, outside of like the maximum or the domain. He probably has some extra special sauce in of himself. That's why he's built the way he is consistently. Okay. But Rabbit Escape? You're telling me these things couldn't look a little, like, just give him antler horns or something. Make them jackalopes. Do something with it. Do a little something. There's a little something in the pot. Know what I'm talking about? Like, why do these have to look normal? I get it. You know, it's not an offensive technique. So maybe Sukuna doesn't want to put that much cursed energy into it. But still, we know they're tangible. They could just be annoying. You could just keep them on the field. Why not? It's not like he actually loses any of them if he gets them destroyed. So just having big old bunnies running, like, can you imagine little car-sized Rabbit Escapes lunging out of the darkness? Like, that'd be cool. I don't know. I feel like he shouldn't have introduced it. He shouldn't have introduced, because to be fair, now that I think about it, the only one that has like a drastic change is Nue. Max Elephant, when becoming Myriad Elephant, wasn't actually that much bigger. It really wasn't. And nothing else was bigger. I mean, the Divine Dog seemed a little bit bigger, but it wasn't, once again, massive. Like, the way... maybe my expectations are too high, but the way Nue's glow up went, from when it was like the size of Megami to literally bigger than skyscrapers, I had hopes for the rest of them, dog. I had hopes to see him go a little bit crazy, but who knows? We could still likely get that. And what was mentioned earlier about the lowered output for both of them, that may be, and is probably the biggest contributing factor for why these things were small, on top of Sukuna not wanting to waste too much cursed energy. But we see, as Gojo stands and notices, he's like, looks like the Black Flash worked like a charm. How much longer are you gonna rest for, little baby girl? And, can't believe, I mean, Gojo calls Sukuna baby girl. But, Gojo, how long do you think this interaction was? Like, how long do you think? Like, I guess he takes some time to think here as he heals up. But, like, at most, Sukuna was out for like 30 seconds, Gojo. He was not... worked like a charm my foot, bro. He just got back up immediately. Indubitably immediately. And since I might as well address it now, since it doesn't get addressed, how did he summon Mahoraga when asleep? How? How did he summon Mahoraga when asleep? With no hand sign, no call, no incantation, no nothing. Like, I was hoping we'd get that confirmed, because that's a big thing. That's a big old beefy thing. How did he trap Gojo in the Shadow Realm when he was literally in the Dreamland? Like, he was with Mario and Luigi up there getting some dreams in. He was up there with Phantasma? I think that's the name of the villain from that game. Like, legitimately, he was out there. Gojo literally tucked him in the bed, but somehow he was able to summon Mahoraga. That does not get explained still. Now, I know a lot of people are saying, well, Pencil, he doesn't have to summon Mahoraga again, because Mahoraga was chilling in the shadows. I don't think so. Unless this is stated somewhere, You can prove me wrong. Go back to chapter 230. We literally see after he puts Mahoraga back in the Shadow Realm, he has to do a hand sign to summon the wheel above his head, which implies that Mahoraga, he couldn't just reach into the shadow and whoop, smack it on his dome piece. And even still, the wheel didn't fall off his head and straight into the shadow. It fell, spun, the shadow itself opened up, fell in, and then Mahoraga came out. So Mahoraga was clearly not already summoned. So how was bro able to summon Mahoraga? Well, Gege, literally all you have to say is that it was a binding vow. Like if Gege just says it's a binding vow set by Sukuna, I'm fine with that. But right now, this is a very pivotal, important part of the fight that he's just magically able to do. Twice, in fact. Because you got it, like you could literally, all Gege needs to say is that Sukuna has implemented a binding vow with Mahoraga and the 10 Shadows technique that if it were ever so that he was incapacitated, whether through unconsciousness or incapacity to move due to brain overload, Mahoraga could spawn in automatically. Then maybe I could last line. And I wouldn't complain. As long as Gege just acknowledged it. But this is the second time that Sukuna has managed to save himself from a literal thick, girthy Omega L. There's something that goes completely unexplained. Like these aren't, the reason I'm hammering on it so hard is because these aren't small little plot points. This isn't like, admittedly, something that also didn't get explained. This isn't like Gojo using red inside of Sukuna's domain. This is literally, Sukuna was about to lose, and then Mahoraga came out and saved him. For no apparent reason, or seemingly no apparent reason that's established. I don't ever remember it being stated anywhere that you can use your technique. Well, I don't know. Feels a little bit fishy. But we see that Gojo, even with the fact that Rabbit Escape has happened, and the fact that Sukuna's wide awake, he does still fire his red off. And specifically, I don't know why I find this so funny. He fires it at his own shadow. Like here's my shadow's right over there. Like, dog. What happened? I guess. I wonder how that works though, because we know the 10 Shadows user takes upon the weight of whatever in the shadow, right? But does the 10 Shadows user take the weight of anything that comes into the shadow that's like energy? Like what happens? Or what would have happened if the red didn't just go through the building and actually went into the shadow? What would have happened there? But we do get to see that Gojo fires off a red. And big old beefy Maho over there is like, here's Soda's output on that one. Oh, I gotta get moving. And we also see a little Goshunk. That's how you have to say it, by the way. You can't say Goshunk. You have to say Goshunk. You gotta choke on the and I don't know. It's just it's so funny. Look at him run like that. He's like, I don't know. Like, I'm a big dude myself. I know I look funny when I run. So me and Mahoraga, well, no, Maharaga's in much better shape than me. Bro has a solid 8-pack and biceps literally bigger than me. But still, it's funny to see him run. Though once again, Gojo, shouldn't be doing that, buddy. You shouldn't be wasting opportunities like that. Like, I get it. No matter what, it appears that Sukuna cannot adapt to Gojo's techniques, and that's cool. But Gojo, as you clearly just proved to yourself earlier on in this very chapter, you cannot just punch Mahoraga out. Mahoraga will be fine and heal, and who knows, maybe it could adapt to the punching phenomena. So it may be burning that too. But the fact that you're taking one of the few attacks that does still work on Mahoraga, that can be quickly performed, not just because he can still use purple and stuff like that, but the fact that you take one of those attacks and just throw it out willy-nilly and allow Mahoraga to adapt again, now it's going to be even less effective. So I don't know, Gojo. This doesn't seem like the smartest idea. And we even see Gojo knows that Mahoraga's adapting because he says, Mahoraga adapted to my infinity. It's on offense. To make sure Mahoraga doesn't get destroyed, Sukuna's on protection duty, while making sure that he tries to make his own openings for Mahoraga to easily attack. So, at this point, I mean, I guess maybe if Mahoraga were to get hit with a point-blank red, that would do it in. But honestly, at this point, Sukuna doesn't even really need to worry about Mahoraga offensively unless you're trying to hit it with a purple. because it's already adapted to 3 reds. Remember, it adapted to the first red of last chapter. That's when it got hit and the wheel spun, landed, did its little flippy thing, and then boom. Then it got hit with a red at the start of it. Well, actually, no. It gets hit with a red here, which is twice adapted. Then it gets hit with another red layer on the chapter that does very, very little. So, already twice adapted. Increasing its adaptation, not the smartest thing to do, Gojo. You know you need to one-shot this thing. Or beat Sukuna. Maybe. Would the 10 shadows technique dispel if the user has perished? I would think. Maybe? I don't know. Because the 10 shadows technique is weird. But we do get to see. Gojo knows the play. He knows the play absolutely. He's like, all right, bet. I can still destroy this thing if I really need to. Sukuna knows that. I know that Sukuna knows that. We ain't gonna play these games. And both are aware that they need to get a little bit creative now. And Sukuna, from downtown, pulls out a fire extinguisher and just lobs that bad boy. But a couple questions. One, Cher, can you stop making that noise? Thank you. Two, bro, the fire extinguisher is right here, dog. How did he grab that bad boy? Like, maybe you could say it's propelling itself, but I feel like that's an action line or explosion effect from somewhere else. How did Sukuna grab this bad boy? And note, Sukuna? Oh, Lord. Sukuna throws it, and then he pops it with something. Yeah, you heard me. Something. I have no idea what he hit it with. Like, maybe it just bounced off the wall and ricocheted into an explosion. It cannot be dismantled or cleaved because it's not a clean cut. And I have no idea what else it could be. I mean, maybe Sukuna probably we know I think he does have the ability to just fire curse energy projectiles, but we don't see it. That's why this is so weird to me. But Sukuna, he does whip out the smoke screener. And can you imagine? Just think about it. You had a long day, whether at work or at school or anything else. You had a long day. You go to the shower, you take a nice shower, you go bathe, clean yourself off, get yourself nice and ready for bed. You lay down in your humble abode and you look up, and then Mahoraga's on your ceiling. Look at him. Look at Spider-Man over here. Bro saw across the Spider-Verse and said, Miguel, you need me. Like, bro's gonna capture all the anomalies. What's he doing up there? And the crazy thing is, he's literally sticking up there. This isn't like a boom boom where he like leaps off the roof. No, he is sticking to the roof. The reason I say that, there's not a single, this is all his shadow. Shadow. There's not a motion line in sight. Bro's literally just chilling on the roof. How do you react? How do you deal? Obviously, I know we would all perish. If Mahoraga was actually on our ceilings and we did anything to agitate it, would just whoop. But like, even if you're Satoru Gojo, that has to be a terrifying sight. And speaking of sight, Gojo does immediately notice it, which is good on him. But using multi-layered things, which I do like here. I was wondering at first in the spoilers, why, body? Why must you do me like this? But I was wondering at first in the spoilers, well, why throw the tank? Why throw the fire extinguisher if Gojo can sense energy? But now I get it. The fire extinguisher is used to set the smoke screen, so not only Mahoraga can be used as bait / a switch-in, but also so that Sukuna would essentially have free reign to do whatever he wanted as a long-range attack. And since right now, at least, Sukuna has Gojo convinced that, no long-range techniques exist in his arsenal without summoning another Shigigami since he can't use Cleave, Shrine, or Dismantle, then he thought he was good from a longer range, or at least a mid-range fight. But Sukuna, being Sukuna, is like, no, and proceeds to fire off what Choso recognizes immediately as piercing blood. And here's the thing, right? We see this piercing water, and it blasts, rolling around at the speed of sound. Now, remember, There's gonna be a quiz later, so I need you to remember. Gojo right here is unable to avoid Mahoraga. Unable to dodge him. Just flat out. There's no discussion, no competition. He just is unable to dodge Big Papa Mahoraga. And we see that due to that, he blocks. And naturally, since Gojo blocks and Mahoraga is adapted to the Infinity just says, I'm gonna clock out, deuces. And thusly, when the water seems to come in, Gojo actually manages to get tagged by it. So he gets tagged twice by both Mahoraga and Sukuna, showing that they are relative to him in speed. You wanna know what the crazy thing is? Despite later adding a third whole party member, treating Gojo like he's literally the final boss, he still, and I mean still, probably put this in a nice way. I really don't. Put this in a nice way. Like, how does bro get hit with this? How does he get hit with this if he literally dodges everything else in the chapter? And notably, these two are coming from super long ranges. Like, okay, maybe not super long ranges. Maybe I'm gassing up a little bit. And obviously, you can chalk this up to this being hidden in the shadow and Gojo literally facing Mahoraga. But like, look. Mahoraga's on the roof. He's on the roof. Bro's literally on the ceiling. And he manages to come down and force Gojo to block instead of Gojo just dodging. And then Gojo gets tagged by this. And Sukuna's halfway across the room. Now, I want you to remember that. Remember that for later. There's going to be a test. And the test is right now. Because Mahoraga goes to swing again, and this time Gojo's able to dodge. After already taking damage. And we see that Gojo notes, okay. This may be worse than I thought. So he isn't just devoting himself to support Mahoraga. When Mahoraga erases my infinity, Sukuna will use that opening to attack. So, interesting things here. Number one, it's super duper impressive that Gojo managed to eat that as well as he did. Like bro actually managed to take the piercing water to the arm and not like lose a whole arm. You would think that would go straight through. That's a pretty, like, due to Gojo having the infinity, he doesn't have the most insane durability feats. I know he took my love in shrines, but like in terms of just general attacks, but the fact that he took that piercing water from 20 Finger Sukuna, very, very impressive. Number two, physical strength feat right here. Mahoraga's Mahoraga. The fact that, though admittedly, this does go to show a difference, it shows a difference if Mahoraga gets amped by Sukuna. If Mahoraga doesn't get amped by Sukuna, then this is really, really impressive for another variation of Sukuna. If it does get amped by Sukuna, then this is just impressive for Gojo. But remember, Sukuna, when in Itadori's body in 15 Finger, just raised a single arm up and was pushed into the ground. But it still managed to block and essentially no-sell Mahoraga's blade hitting him. Not even Mahoraga's seeming like wrist here, Mahoraga's blade. Gojo needed 2 arms to block that. Though admittedly he is holding off Mahoraga with 1 arm here. So that either is a super impressive thing for 15 Finger Sukuna if all Mahoraga are uniform, or it's an impressive feat for Gojo for holding off a extremely powerful Shikigami that's amped by Sukuna's cursed energy. Pick your poison. I mean, it really, if you're a Gojo fan, you're going to pick the latter. If you're a Sukuna fan, you're going to pick the former. But with that being the case, you see, Gojo manages to dodge here. So Mahoraga isn't actually fast enough to consistently tag him when much closer to Gojo than literally being up here on the roof. And we see that there's an interesting tidbit about how Mahoraga works. So when Mahoraga was going to adapt to the infinity, what I thought would happen is that the infinity would still be produced around all of Gojo, but Mahoraga, wherever it tried to make contact, it would succeed in making contact. So say Mahoraga, like in the last chapter, went to grab, we'll say this is Gojo, went to grab Gojo. It succeeds in grabbing Gojo. But up here and down here are still covered by the infinity, because only Mahoraga's adapting to the parts that he's attacking. And thusly, what I thought would have to happen is that Sukuna would have to start attacking through Mahoraga. Like, Mahoraga's in contact, and then wherever Mahoraga's touching, the infinity shut off, and then Sukuna needs to throw, like, for example, a piercing water through Mahoraga's hand in order to damage Gojo, or something like that. But no. any single bit of contact with Mahoraga entirely erases the infinity, which is a lot better. That is crazy. Sure, is it not a consistent erasure? Yeah, Gojo likely re-ups it immediately, but still, that's pretty crazy. And we see that Gojo realizes, okay. So this is just a good old-fashioned 2-on-1. Usually you should be unable to use the Shikigami's powers without summoning them. Or no, unable to use, not able to use. I mean, using Max Elephant to create a piercing blood attack? He's as handy as I am. So, Gege, that's not an explanation. How did he do that? Notably, a lot of people are chalking up to, well, technically, Sukuna's able to summon the wheel independently. So what's so different about him summoning water? He usually makes the hand sign for the wheel. Like he does the hand sign to bring the wheel out. He did it against Shirozu at the end of 217, and then he does it when he summons the wheel in this fight. So he has to do a hand sign to do it. All Sukuna did now is clap his hands together, and suddenly he had water between them. That's not Max Elephant's hand sign. That's my thing. It feels a little bit weird that Sukuna can just randomly yank it out. I'm not going to complain too much, though, because I want more Shikigami. Though, admittedly, I do wish he would just summon Max Elephant. If Myriad Elephant was already that big, imagine how big Maximum Elephant was. Imagine... I just realized how stupid that could be. But, imagine Maximum Elephant. Like, legitimately. We could get Maximum Elephant. Elephant's power is maximumer. Like, legitimately, we could get that. But no, Sukuna just resorts to drawing out the ability himself. Feels a little bit weird. Feels a little bit nonsensical, but we'll let it. I'll let you get away with this one. Yeah. However, we see that Gojo notes something that was mentioned before, which does kind of disappoint me, I will admit. I'm sorry, I've been complaining a lot throughout this review. I still like the chapter, trust me. But Gojo points out, unless he applies it externally to his domain, he can't use Shrine in the 10 Shadows simultaneously. He's using Shikigami other than Mahoraga now, since the adaptation to Infinity is complete, and he has more resources to allocate. In that case, English! In that case, it should take longer to adapt to Reverse Curse Technique Red than Curse Technique Lapse. I much prefer to have Mahoraga pluck my cards from my hand one by one. So, couple things. I will admit I'm a little teeny tiny tad bit disappointed that Sukuna can't use multiple techniques at once. That kind of lessens the appeal to me a bit. I would really love to see Meguna combo Shrine into attacks from the Shikigami, whether it be attacking straight through them and tearing them apart in the case of Mahoraga, then Mahoraga just heals and is able to tank it better next time, or even simply through, I don't know, letting them all out, and then just saying, oh, well, as shown back in Tokyo Colony number 1, I do believe, even if a technique is shut down, or the 10 Shadows technique is shut down by the user, or the user is incapacitated, the 10 Shadows technique itself will still be active. Like, after Megami Closed Domain, which should be a surefire thing to shut down all Shikigami, his Divine Dog was still lingering around and helped him get the dub on Reggie. So, we know already it's a built-in feature of the 10 Shadows to just exist, even if their user's not using the technique actively for one reason or another. So, I feel a little bit disappointed in the idea that we just don't get what is fully, responsibly ours. I want it badly. I want to see him use both, gosh darn it. But once again, minor complaint. And we get Sukuna hearing all my minor complaints and being like, fine, you want more 10 Shadows? I'll give you more 10 Shadows. And he says, don't misunderstand. This isn't a 2-on-1. And he summons Nue Totality, which is very interesting. It's just this. But he summons Nue Totality, the fusion beast, Ahito. And, interesting design. Interesting design. Okay, why? Why? Why, Gege? Why? The only thing I like is that it seems to have matching tattoos with Sakuna. I like that. But why, Gege? Why? Though, admittedly, I wonder if, like, when it says totality, what's it a totality of? Because I see multiple different aspects on it. Like, I see the claws that mainly, but then again, you could say those are talons. But the claws remind me a lot of Divine Dog. There's no mouth for the Divine Dog, but it has the antlers like the Tranquil Deer, the bug eyes, which doesn't actually remind me of anything within Ten Shadows technique, but definitely reminds me of that one lizard summon from Naruto. The Sage of Six Paths Lizard summon. I remember that. So I don't know. That's what those eyes look like to me. It's just it's a very. I put this nicely. It's a unique design. It is a design to its own. It is a very, very unique design. And we see that Sukuna pulls up with the Carfax and says, it's a 3-on-1. So, I know me and a lot of other people were desperately begging Gege to bring back Jujutsu Kaisen. And Gege said, oh, okay, I'll bring it back. And he brought it back for Sukuna. It's funny. But with that being the case, no, this is not technically jumping. All of this, by pure technicality, is Sukuna's technique. So he's not really jumping you, but as he says himself, it's a 3-on-1. I will admit, though, I believe Ahito is the weakest here. Like, I don't have much faith in Ahito. They don't perform that well in the chapter. But we get to see as Sukuna proudly declares, it's me, Sukuna, and I already have Daddy Mahoraga here. A Miska Muska Mihi Mahoraga too. Now, I call my wife Minnie. You call Minnie out. We got Mommy and Daddy here, and we see that Gojo just goes for it, bro. Not a care in the world. He just goes for it. Dude, you look like a little lost alien boy. Gojo. Gojo. What in the world? Okay. A lot of people wonder, like, do authors even know about their fan base? Do they know what's happening in their fan base? I feel like this mention in particular, it has to be because the fan base has been calling him Baby Kuda, Sleep Kuda, all the Kuda, like Carried Kuda, like all the different things. Because, come on, Gojo literally calling him a child. Next thing you know, Gojo's going to call him a cloud, and Sukuna's going to get a cloud wing. But we do get to see. I do love this reaction from Sukuna, though. It's the absolute, pretty much deadpan lack of reaction. He just smiles. He's like, oh, I'm going to rip out your entrails and feed them to Nue. Like, bro is just so nettled here. And we see that things immediately re-engage. Things, in fact, start to get a little bit active, if I do say so myself. Though, note this, Gojo does not take an entire hit, a single blow for the rest of the chapter. Bro basically becomes untouchable. In such short order, too. Like, remember, Mahoraga was able to tag Gojo from the roof. Gojo seemingly maybe teleporting. Maybe that's what these little instances are, but it looks like he's just straight moving out of the way. And we see he ends up all the way over to where Sukuna is. And by ends up all the way over, I mean Sukuna travels through a shadow. And we see that Gojo, while turned around, back face towards the mechanical monsters, or no, front face towards the mighty shadow beasts, Sukuna slides out the shadow and tries to hit Gojo with another piercing water, but doesn't work out. Gojo manages to dodge it entirely. Once again, very, very strange. Very, very strange. Same attack done earlier by seemingly enough a stronger Sukuna was unable to, let's just say, yeah, I don't know. This is a little bit weird. This is definitely a little bit weird. Much closer range, Gojo's back is literally turned to him. Cannot tag him. Whiffs. Gojo, on the other side of the room from where Sukuna's standing, literally not even on panel here, gets tagged. A little bit, just a teeny tiny bit weird in terms of speed scaling. But we do get to see that as Gojo dodges, he goes to punch Sukuna, but once again, Sukuna's super duper strong, super duper agile. Sukuna dodges out of the way. And speaking of dodging, Mahoraga goes in for a punch. Mahoraga, buddy, you won. Mahoraga. You have a sword. You have a whole sword. Just stab them. But we see Gojo bobs, weaves, and grieves. Both of these two. And then immediately, and I mean immediately, jumps out of there. I thought he teleported when I first read the spoilers. No, he just straight dodged Mahoraga's fist. Presumably, if I had to take a guess, he likely hooked his feet around the arm of Mahoraga, did a cool spin, landed on Mahoraga's shoulder, and leaped off. If I had to take a solid guess on what happened here, because it does specifically say jump. And once again, Gojo, broski, you gotta stop doing this, dog. It's just gonna keep adapting to you. But we see that Gojo fires off another red. This time it's point blank. And while it does seem to knock over Ahito and generally what are you doing behind them closed doors, Mahoraga? Chill out. But no, we see that Mahoraga, once again, he takes very minimal damage from red. As Gojo points out, effective, but barely. And not that, it's just not compatible with my outputs on the chance. He may only look like one hit from head on. So, oh wait, now, what the heck? Effective, but barely, because my output's on the decline. He took only one hit from red head on, and that is the adaptation. Oh, okay, at that. So the adaptation is gradual rather than a binary of 0 to 100. Yes, Gojo. That's very clear. Like, I don't know how you don't get that one. One, shouldn't your 6 eyes tell you that? Don't they allow you to read techniques? And two, dude, you had to hit him with multiple blues before he could adapt to your infinity. I presume that the man is a little bit, or the beast is a little bit cultured in the chef. The beast is a little bit cultured in the chef. The beast is just a teeny, tiny bit cultured. But we do get to see that Gojo realizes, all right, just means I'll have to take Mahoraga out in one hit. I'll have to use that. On top of that, taking charge. Oh, wait, no. On top of the charge, English. On top of the charge taking ages, Sukuna's guard is up. The fact that they're trying to close this gap between us and going into attack relentlessly rather than prioritizing the red adaptation is solid proof of that, which means I have no other choice. I gotta settle this with my unlimited hollow technique. Within that smile lies a secret plan. Chapter 233 of JJK ended. So, this chapter got a lot of good juicy stuff in it. And there are some minor issues that I have, but it's not anything to do with the chapter itself. They can either be blamed on previous chapters or the fight itself. Like, it's just, there's some things you aren't going to get over. What I like about this chapter, number one, going back in time, back to reality. I do like that it's not Gojo over. One, I like that it's not Gojo over, but I also like how reality's hitting. Reality's generally hitting for them. They're realizing, oh no, we're in actual genuine danger. Gojo may actually be in trouble. I like the hitting of that. I like the confirmation that their output's lowering. It allows for excuses for stuff later on in the chapter. I like how Gojo is actually genuinely enjoying himself. Like Sukuna's genuinely enjoying himself against someone who he can actually have a decent fight against without instantly annihilating. I like that a lot, how the narrator points it out. I like Gojo punching Mahoraga in the face. I don't know, I just find it funny. And then I also like how Sukuna has engaged back in the fight, is getting creative, and is implementing new things. Sure, do I have some issues with the idea that he can do this without summoning Max Elephant or even doing a hand sign or saying anything? Yes. Do I still have issues with Mahoraga being able to come out at all while Sukuna was? Yes. But rule of cool. I guess I'll just let it rock. And I'm super duper excited to see Gojo's hollow limitless technique or limitless hollow technique. I am very, very excited. And I hope for all that is good for Gojo, I hope he cooks. However, that's what I think. Please what you guys think in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And make sure the notification bell so you do not miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do have a Patreon down below where you can support for as low as $1 a month. Things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. You can also now become a member to the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Some of those perks include the live reaction to this very chapter. Now, thank you guys so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is Dago the Pencil, writing off. I'd like to give a thank you to our $3 members, Wakanda Plays and Red Wolf 4765. I'd like to give a very big thank you to our $5 patrons, Sean Gray, Red Wolf 4765, Midnight Gemlord, Kevin, Demix LND, and Art Goon. I'd like to give another super big thank you to our $10 patrons, Robbie Uchiha, Joaquin, and Idemokami. And a final very big thank you to our $25 member, Alex Ice Rose.